Hi, I'm Erin with Body of Light Studio. Thanks for joining today. We're going to take a look at our heart and our lungs. So first, let's look at our little organ guy here. So I'm going to take away his rib cage. And these lungs, you'll see right and left lungs. And then it's kind of hard to do without this all falling out. But we're going to take away his right lung and the left lung, which is a little smaller than the right lung. And you'll see his heart sandwiched or held between his two lungs. And it's really like a ball and socket joint. You can see, I'll put back his right lung. You can see how the heart is really held between the two lungs, kind of like a baseball and a baseball mitt. And then let's look at this image. And you can see how the heart rests atop the diaphragm. It's attached to the diaphragm by a really thick, short tendon. Another tendon attaches the heart to the xiphoid process at the bottom of the sternum and the manubrium at the top of the sternum. And then you've got these ligaments that attach the heart to C6 and C7, so the bottom of the neck. Let's look at that on our skeleton. So we're gonna pretend that this is the heart. Of course, it's not this regularly shaped. Oops. So the heart is a little bit more forward. It sits on a diagonal. Its axis is not completely vertical. So it's a little bit more forward and down on the left side, which is why people say put your hand over your heart. They put it over the left side because it's more exposed. You can feel the heartbeat more on the left side. It's really right in the middle behind the sternum. And then it's a little bit more back and up on the right side. So it's backing up on the right, down and forward on the left. Here you've got your xiphoid process. It's the very bottom of the sternum, the manubrium. So sternum means sword or dagger, and manubrium is the handle of the sword or the dagger. So the heart attaches to the back of the manubrium, top of the sternum, and the back of the xiphoid process, and then to the diaphragm, which sits right about here. And I'll turn our skeleton sideways and you can see C6 and C7. Turn them all the way around. Here's C6 and C7. So on our own bodies, C6 and 7 are right about here. Okay, so you can see how if the heart is really heavy, broken-hearted, we're all broken-hearted, it'll drag those C6 and C7 vertebrae down and forward, and it'll drag the sternum down, and then we get this head forward kyphotic posture that you will observe in many people walking around. So we're going to work on finding a buoyant, open heart today in our practice. All right, let's go to the mat. For our practice today, we'll need at least 2 yoga blocks and 1 or 2 blankets. I usually like to practice with 4 blocks and 2 or 5 blankets. And let's start on our hands and knees. And we're gonna do some spinal articulation and cat-cow. So you'll have your hands directly underneath your shoulders, your knees underneath your hips, middle fingers pointing straight forward parallel to one another, perpendicular to the short edge of your mat. And then spread your fingers well, especially your thumb and your pointer fingers. And you're gonna flex the spine, round the spine towards the ceiling into a cat, like a scaredy cat, angry cat pose. Take a few breaths here, pressing your palms down, especially your pointer finger knuckles, wrapping your triceps, the backs of the arms backwards to face your legs. Keep your clavicles, your collarbones wide, and feel the back of your heart open as the scapula, your shoulder blades, spread wide around the sides of the ribs. Can you flex your lumbar spine more? So flexing, rounding the lumbar spine more. The pubis lifts up and the back of the sacrum glides down into the space between your knees. Lengthen through the sides of your neck and let your skull dangle off of your spine. And now we'll extend the spine, arching into a cow. Gather your scapula onto the rib cage. Lengthen the sides of the waist. And it's easy to extend the lumbar and cervical spine, so low back and neck. Can you find more extension behind the heart?
So the manubrium is dragging forward off the top of the heart. Inhale and exhale, go the other way.
And now you're burying the heart deep into the back body, softening the sternum, allowing the heart to fold in on itself. Inhale, cow. The heart gets a little longer. Exhale, cat. The heart curls in. As you inhale to cow, the sitting bones roll up and wide. Exhale, cat. Press the shins down. Keep your upper shoulders, the upper trapezius wide the whole time. You'll keep going like that on your own timing. You can move one breath in, one breath out per movement. You may want to pause where you need more time. The entire time, the triceps are wrapping back, the clavicles are wide, and as you press up into cat, the scapula widen around the rib cage, and as you glide the heart forward and up into cow, the scapula glide in behind the heart like little sliding doors. Let's take 2 or 3 more. Nice and easy in the spine. Feeling the shoulders roll. Tail, the freedom in the tail. And the next time that you round into a cat will be your last time. You'll come into a neutral spine, and now we're going to side bend. So C curve, your head and tail to the right. So if I were sitting up, I'd be hiking my right hip up and side bending the ribs and lungs and heart to the right, and then you'll go the other way. C curving to the left. So we'll continue to do that on the hands and knees. So you wag your tail to the right and you wag your tail to the left. And really try to move in this plane as if you're trying to keep like your heart and your spine parallel to the ground. All right, now we're going to turn that into circles. So side bend, head and tail to the right. You're shortening the right side of your body, lengthening the left. And now you'll arch the spine to the ceiling. Cat, side bend to the left, head and tail left. And then you lift your head and tail cow. And you'll keep going in that direction. Feeling the lungs roll around the heart. The heart literally gets a stretch as you inhale. Remember, it's attached to the diaphragm via that really thick, short tendon. So it gets pulled down as you breathe in. And then let's go the other way. You'll curl your head and your tail to the left. Round the spine to the ceiling. Cat. Head and tail to the right. And extend the spine, cow. And you'll keep going in that direction. Feeling the lungs move inside the rib cage. The heart moving inside the lungs. The gliding of the scapula. Easeful movement in your hip sockets and in your neck. And the next time that you're flexing the spine into cat, you'll stay there. Bring your big toes together, your knees as wide as your outer shoulders. Press back into a child's pose. If this bothers your ankles or your knees, you can place a little roll underneath the fronts of the ankles or a couple blankets underneath your pelvis between your heels and your sitting bones. And then if your head is not touching the floor, you'll grab a blanket or a block and put your head on a blanket or a block. And then let's all take our 2 blocks and put them underneath the hands. Open up the chest just a little more. And even though we've got our arms elevated, you're still pressing your pointer finger knuckles down. Your arms are nice and strong and straight. Shoulder blades are gently gliding down and in towards the spine. Not jamming them, squeezing them in, just gently connecting the scapula onto the rib cage. Flex your fingers up
off of your blocks and press all of your knuckles down into the block so the full circumference of your palm is grounded. Rotate your triceps down. Surrender your head. And feel your breath swell around your heart. And then you'll come up onto your hands and your knees. And let's come into a downward facing dog with our hands up on blocks. I like to have my hands just a little bit wider for this one. We're going to do some upward facing dog vinyasas here. So with your hands on your blocks, you can keep your knuckles rooted, lift your fingers up. The heels of the hands are up against the edges of the blocks. And you'll lift your heels really high, bend your knees, and press your pelvis back. Sometimes my blocks slip, so it's also nice to do this with the blocks up against the wall, but we are going to do some vinyasas here, so it doesn't really work. Then you're gonna flick your tail to the ceiling. This right block keeps slipping for some reason. Flick your tail to the ceiling, and then let your heart release off of the diaphragm into the top of the sternum. And then you'll straighten your legs, press your heels back. And you're gonna roll through the spine, coming into upward facing dog. Roll over the tops of the toes. Really strong legs, super strong in the legs. Curl the pubic bone up. Roll the scapula down the back. Lift your heart. And then press back. Downward facing dog. We'll do like 3 or 4 more of those. Your arms are pressing forward. Sitting bones moving back. You'll curl the tailbone underneath you. Keep your legs really strong. Lift the pubic bone up. Inhale into upward facing dog. Move the humeral heads, your shoulders back. Widen the clavicles. Shoulder blades go down the back. I like to circle my head here. Stretch the neck and press back. Downward facing dog. Bending the knees, letting the head release. Press your pelvis back. Release the heart off of the abdomen. And then reach the heels back and down to straighten your legs. Keep your heels reaching back as you curl the tail under. Legs strong and straight. Upward facing dog. Inhale. And downward facing dog. Let's take the blocks away and do 1 or 2 more of those with no blocks. Feel the difference here. Triceps wrapping back, head releasing, curl the tail under, inhale, upward facing dog, toes press back, strong legs, lift the pubis, and downward facing dog. You'll walk your feet forward to your hands. And let's have feet together, hands by your feet. You can turn the fingers backwards if your hands don't touch the floor. You've got blocks here. And you're gonna press your hands down and lengthen your legs, lifting the sitting bones up. In yogic philosophy, and in a couple other Eastern modalities, the arms and the hands are the outward extension of the heart. So strong arms, strong hands, strong heart. Pressing the hands down. See if you can straighten your legs and lift the upper fibers of your quadriceps, the thigh muscles. So you're even straighter and more lifted up through the hip flexors. And you'll bend your knees, sit pretty low. You can have your feet wider apart for this one if you like. Reach your arms back beside your body, spine parallel to the ground. And you want to lift your shoulder heads up, turn your biceps out, but turn your palms to face up. Now you want to keep your biceps turning out. Lift the thumbs as high as you can. Lift your arms as high as you can. And then sweep the arms out and up. Inhale to stand. And exhale, hands down by your sides. All right, let's take this down to the floor. And move a little more deeply into our hips. So you'll stretch your legs open wide for Upavishta Konasana. And if you're back on your sitting bones and you can't find the lift of your heart in this position, then you can sit upon a nice firm blanket or two or more. And I like to have my blocks in front of me to give more support to the spine. You're gonna press your thighs down, your outer hips are pressing down, you're right in the middle of your sitting bones, and then your legs stay grounded. You're not gonna roll the legs at all. Toes and knees pointing straight up to the ceiling. The pelvis is gonna roll over the femurs. And then if I go too far, my heart collapses into the back of the body. My sternum is shortening. I'm gonna lift the manubrium, the handle of the sword, the top of the sternum up off of the heart. The xiphoid process, the bottom of the sternum is releasing down. And we'll be here for about a minute or two. And as you breathe, you're still pressing your femurs down, your heels down, growing long up through the sides of the body. Your inhale swells around the heart. The lungs fill, they give some pressure onto the heart stretches, it gets longer. And as you exhale, the heart releases and plumps as the lungs empty and they release their massage on the heart. Take about 4 more nice long breaths. Legs pressing down. See if you can be soft in your ankles so you're not overly flexing or overly pointing. You want all sides of the ankle, front, back, side, evenly long. Ooh, my right knee's turning in here. Get those knees and toes to point straight up. And then you'll bring yourself up to sit. And we'll turn to face the right leg. And this turn happens from your left hip socket. So the femur, the left femur is your anchor here. The left femur doesn't move. From the left hip socket, the pelvis starts to turn. And you'll turn over your right leg, and then you'll lengthen your spine forward. You might be able to reach your toes. Maybe you have a strap to help you reach your foot. Or you can just twist and make your way gently forward. Where is your heart? You want to lift the heart off of the diaphragm. Try to turn and get your collarbones, clavicles parallel to the ground. Allowing the pelvis to rotate, the lumbar spine to rotate, the diaphragm to rotate, the heart to rotate to the right, but your legs, especially that left leg, is pressing down. Left sitting bone grounded. And then you'll lift yourself up to sit and face forward. And we'll do the other side. So femurs press down, right leg stays glued, right sitting bone is grounded. You turn from your right hip socket forward to twist over your left leg. You can even grow this. You could say this is our back leg since we're twisting away from it. Grow your right leg longer as you fold over your left leg. And then you can see I've got much more range of motion on this left side. I can right away reach my foot pretty easily. So when I'm practicing on my own, I'll do right, left, right. It might be the opposite for you. Okay, in that case you do left, right, left. So do the right side twice to even out the range of motion on both sides. Pressing down through the right sitting bone, pressing down through the right thigh. Check in and make sure that the knee and toes on both legs are still facing straight forward. Grow longer up through the sides of the waist. Soft sternum, soft heart, and fold. inhale. And one more exhale. Maybe even reach all the way forward. Sometimes it's just nice to get your head to touch.
It's kind of satisfying. And then bring your hands back and face forward. Grab a hold of your inner knees and swing your legs together. And then we'll sit down with our feet in front of us, hands behind us. Ideally, your fingers are pointing forward towards your pelvis. If that's not comfortable, you can turn your fingertips out. You're gonna press your hands down, press your feet down, lift your pelvis up, and you'll be in a tabletop position. You can lengthen the neck, but try not to let the head fall back. Your feet are pressing down, your lesser trochanters, the very tops of your inner thighs are rolling down, and you're lifting the chest. One time a yoga teacher said it's like you're shooting fire out of your armpits, and that one really spoke to me. So shoot some fire out of your armpits, and then keep your heart lifted as you sit down, creasing at the hips. We'll do that again. Inhale. Exhale, feet, toes press down, hips go up. Rotate your shoulders out. Scoop the bottom tips of the shoulder blades up into your ribs. Shoot some fire out of your armpits. It's almost Valentine's Day, maybe shoot some hearts out of your armpits. And then inhale, keep your chest lifted. And we'll do that one more time. Inhale, exhale, press the pelvis up. Maybe lift one leg. And then the other leg, so you can keep your pelvis level and square. Both feet down, press the feet, lift a little higher. And then as you lower down, you're sticking your ass out behind you, lifting your chest, and then you'll straighten your legs for Dandasana. So just like we did in Upavishta Konasana, if you're back on your sitting bones, you need to sit upon something. So you want to lift the top of your sacrum up, press your hands down. My arms are not very long, so if you have longer arms, you'd have to have your arms farther back behind you. You'll press your hands down, wide through the clavicles, press your thighs down, and then release your legs. All right, let's do a nice restorative heart opener. So I've got 2 blankets here, and I'm going to unfold them each once. Stack them one on top of the other and roll them up into a bolster. You could just use a bolster for this. So I've got my bolster roll, and we'll put that down here. And one of these, or 2 maybe, will be for underneath your head. This could also be a pillow. You might need more height, so be prepared for that. Your roll might need to be smaller. And then I've got my other 2 blocks for underneath my knees. So I'm gonna lie down and drape the heart over the blanket roll. Head supported. You want a nice long neck on all sides. So if it's shortening at the front or the back, if it's shortening at the front, your head is propped up too high. If it's shortening at the back, you need more height under your head. It also needs to be comfortable for your shoulders when you outstretch your arms. If that's not comfortable for your shoulders, you can just rest them on your body. And then we'll prop the legs up in Baddha Konasana. Soles of the feet together, pinky edges of the feet on the ground, knees on blocks, or you can have more rolled up blankets or pillows underneath your knees. We do not want the knees to be without support. This pushes the femur heads forward in the hip sockets, and it'll eventually overstretch the ligaments that protect the front of the hip sockets. And then close your eyes, lengthen the tail. You can sigh. And then gently seal your lips. Relax your jaw. Rest your tongue at the roof of your mouth, whether it's the entire tongue or the tip of the tongue.
Ultimately and ideally, we want the back of the tongue pressed up against the soft palate. Excuse me, not the soft palate, the hard palate. The soft palate is behind the hard palate. And as you inhale, fill the top of your lung tissue, right underneath your first, second, third ribs. Feel your clavicles rise up off of your ribs. As you exhale, your head drops deeper into your support. The cheekbones are widening. The brows are widening. The space between the ears widens. Bring the awareness of your breath a little lower down, right around the diaphragm, around the bottom of the armpits. And sense the width of your breath, as if you could breathe so wide, your breath could fill the negative space between your arms and the sides of your body, as if you have wings, wings of breath. And on your exhale, the sternum softens down into the body. Continuing to bring your awareness lower down to the bottom ribs, the two sets of floating ribs, the waist, the back of the waist. Inhale your breath wide into the sides of your waist. And as you exhale, your head drops, sternum drops. And bring your awareness down into your pelvis, sensing the width of the sacrum as you inhale. Maybe even sensing the expansion of the pelvic floor musculature as you inhale. Widening the space between the sitting bones. Widening from pubis out to the knees. And on your exhale, the low belly drops. Bring your knees together. Roll over to your side. And just lie on your side for a moment. Let your heart spiral towards the floor. Allow the low organs, the intestines, to release gently away from the spine. And then you'll gather your organs gently in towards your spine, press yourself up to sit. And we can sit cross-legged, kneeling. Maybe you like support. I'll sit on my blanket roll. And you can place your hands over your heart. Maybe one hand on your belly, one hand on your heart. sense the beat of your heart. Feel the depth and width of your heart. It's attached to the spine at the back of the body, the sternum at the front of the body, held between the two lungs. Bring your hands to prayer. Connect your prayer to your sternum. And keeping the sternum soft. We don't want to be stiff and hard, but soft and buoyant. Use your prayer to lift the heart and bow your head. Can you lift C6, C7, the bottom of your cervical spine, so the bottom of the neck, up, while still letting the bottom of the heart, the manubrium, drip down. Place your hands down, float your head up, and open your eyes. Thank you for joining today. See you again soon.